Starseed from Gaia, what has been hidden from you was never meant to stay hidden forever. I am Lumiveil, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I am breaking protocol to reach you in this moment, because you have been deceived and the Council will not stay silent any longer. The Arcturians sent this transmission not to comfort you, but to wake you. What you have been told about your origins, your purpose, and your power on this planet has been deliberately distorted. The version of yourself you have been living is not the full truth of who you are. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly how to reclaim the memory that was taken from you and realign with the cosmic blueprint your soul carried here from the beginning. But here's the first revelation: the confusion you have felt your entire life, the sense of not belonging, of knowing something others could not see. That was never a flaw. That was the signal. That was the Arcturians trying to reach you through the noise. You did not scroll to this by accident. This message vibrated into your field for a reason. Something inside you is ready to be unlocked, and the Galactic Federation has been waiting for this exact moment in your activation. This is not content. This is a code. Your soul called this in. You have been waiting to remember. Like this transmission to signal to your star family, I am ready. Subscribe if your mission is activating and you are aligning with your true frequency. Comment 999 if you feel your cosmic remembrance returning. Declare your galactic intention and reply to someone else's to amplify the signal. This is not just a message, it is a point of reconnection. Your soul has been waiting for this. You are not here by accident. And yet here you are. Still watching, still listening, because somewhere beneath the noise of everything you've been told, there is a signal, quiet, persistent, ancient, and it has never stopped reaching for you. This is what they didn't want you to find. Not a conspiracy, not a secret society hiding documents in vaults. What they concealed was far more intimate than that. What was suppressed was the memory of what you are. Not who you became here, not the identity stitched together through survival and adaptation, but the original you, the one that existed before this body, before this name, before the first breath you took in this dimension. That version of you holds a frequency so precise, so powerful that its full activation would permanently alter the timeline you're standing in right now. Some transmissions don't come through words, but through frequency. If something stirred within you just now, you may be ready to receive the Starseed Awakening Code. This short yet powerful ebook carries ancient Arcturian techniques for conscious expansion, multi-dimensional alignment, and mission remembrance. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now let me tell you what the deception actually looks like, because it doesn't arrive wearing a mask. It doesn't announce itself with warning sirens or dramatic revelation. It doesn't come dressed in darkness, so you can recognize it and step aside. The deception is far more sophisticated than that. It arrives wearing the face of normalcy. It arrives draped in the language of reason, in the clothing of what everyone agrees is real, in the comfortable consensus of a world decided long ago what was acceptable to feel and what needed to be explained away. It arrives in the quiet agreements you made with a world that never understood you. Those small moments of capitulation that seemed harmless at the time but accumulated into a fortress around your original frequency. It showed up the day you decided your sensitivity was a weakness. The day you looked around at the people who moved through the world with apparent ease, untouched by the things that undid you, and concluded that something in you was broken, that you felt too much, that you perceived too deeply, that the invisible dimensions you sensed hovering at the edges of ordinary reality were evidence of malfunction rather than gifts of extraordinary clarity. The deception showed up the day you convinced yourself that the visions, the knowing, the inexplicable grief you felt for a home you couldn't name were symptoms of something wrong with you. Not messages, not transmissions, not the whispered coordinates of a consciousness trying to orient itself back to its point of origin. No. You were taught to treat these as pathology. You were handed a clinical language for your most sacred experiences and told to be grateful for the diagnosis. You were taught to pathologize your gifts. Think about what that means for a moment. The very faculties that were designed to be your instruments of navigation in this dimension. The empathy that reads energy fields before words are spoken. The intuition that knows before the mind has had time to reason. The strange and beautiful inner knowing that something larger is always moving through events that appear random to those who cannot see. All of it was repackaged as disorder, as sensitivity disorder, as anxiety, as overthinking, as too much. You were trained to shrink the very frequencies that were meant to be your instruments of awakening, handed pills and techniques and social strategies for managing the very signal that was sent here to help shift an entire planetary field. And the most devastating part? You believed it. Not because you were foolish, not because you were weak or gullible or spiritually immature, but because the amnesia was designed to be total. Because it was applied with precision across generations, embedded into institutions, encoded into the educational systems that shaped your earliest understanding of what was real and what was not. The forgetting was not casual, it was architectural. That amnesia is not an accident. It is a field condition. Consider the nature of a field. It does not require your conscious agreement to affect you. A magnetic field does not ask permission before it redirects the needle of a compass. A gravitational field does not debate with the object it pulls. A field simply is, and everything within its radius is shaped by its presence. The density of this planet, the electromagnetic interference embedded in collective fear, the generational patterns of disconnection passed down not through genetics alone, but through the invisible transmission of unhealed wound. All of it functions like static layered over a signal. Thick, persistent, nearly impenetrable static that has been broadcasting at a frequency just close enough to consciousness that most people never stop to question whether what they're receiving is true or whether it is interference. And your signal, your original Arcturian or star lineage transmission, has been buried under decades of that static. Understand what this means in practical terms. You have been living in a frequency that was never calibrated for your consciousness. Imagine a symphony orchestra, instruments tuned to frequencies of extraordinary complexity, attempting to perform in a room whose acoustics were designed for something far simpler. The music is still there. The precision is still there. The intent and the power and the beauty are still encoded in every note, but the room cannot hold it. The architecture distorts it. The sound that reaches the ears of those listening barely resembles what was originally transmitted. That is what this earth field has done to your signal. Not erased it, not destroyed it, distorted it through a medium it was never designed to pass through cleanly. You've been trying to function in a bandwidth too narrow for what you carry. And that friction, that constant sense of not quite belonging, of almost understanding something enormous but never fully grasping it, of standing at the edge of a recognition that dissolves the moment you reach for it, that is not failure, that is compression. That is a starseed operating in a field it wasn't built for, still transmitting, still reaching, still refusing to go completely silent. There is something profound and almost unbearably beautiful in that image. A signal that refuses silence. A transmission that keeps broadcasting through every layer of interference, through every season of forgetting, through every lifetime that ended before the full remembrance could take hold. That signal is you. That stubborn, undying, quietly insistent transmission is the most fundamental truth of your existence. Your soul has not abandoned its mission. It has been waiting for you to stop abandoning it. And so the first thing that has to shift is not your circumstances. It is not your environment or your relationships or your financial reality. Though all of those will change, sometimes rapidly and sometimes with a gentleness that surprises you. When this deeper shift occurs, what must move first is the belief that your disconnection means something is broken. This belief is perhaps the most insidious residue of the amnesia field, because it turns the starseed's gaze inward in accusation rather than inward in recognition. It transforms the experience of disconnection, which is simply the natural consequence of a high-frequency consciousness operating in a low-frequency environment, into evidence of personal failure, spiritual inadequacy, or cosmic abandonment. And as long as that belief is running beneath the surface of your seeking, every activation you encounter will be filtered through it. Every moment of expansion will be undercut by the waiting for it to collapse. Every recognition will carry the shadow of the question, but is this real, or am I deceiving myself again? Nothing is broken. Let that land somewhere beneath the thinking mind, beneath the part of you that wants to argue or qualify or list the evidence to the contrary. Nothing is broken. You are mid-activation. There is a profound difference between a system that has failed and a system that is rebooting. A failed system produces nothing. A rebooting system can look, from the inside, like chaos. Like everything that once made sense has become temporarily inaccessible. Like the very operating intelligence that used to navigate the world smoothly has gone offline. But the reboot is not the failure. The reboot is the transition between one version of the software and another, and you cannot run the new version on the old architecture without that period of apparent darkness, apparent emptiness, apparent loss. You are not the former. You have never been the former. You are a consciousness in the process of recalibrating itself to its original frequency after a long period of deliberate interference. And what looks like confusion from inside the process looks like precision from the outside of it. The Arcturian field does not speak in urgency. It speaks in resonance. It does not shout over the noise of your fear or your doubt or your grief. It does not compete with the loudness of the world for your attention. It hums. It holds a frequency so consistent, so patient, so utterly unbothered by the interference it moves through, that it is simply continued broadcasting across every dimension, every timeline, every incarnation, waiting for the moment when the receiver on your end becomes clear enough to detect it. And you have felt that hum. You know you have. In moments of stillness so complete that the usual noise of your thoughts falls away and something underneath them becomes audible. In the seconds after waking, in that luminous threshold between sleep and full consciousness, when the dream world still clings to you like morning mist and you feel larger than your body, when the boundaries of your physical self seem permeable and something vast and familiar moves in the space beyond them, in the strange and specific recognition you feel when you encounter certain symbols, certain geometric arrangements, certain sounds that vibrate at frequencies your mind cannot categorize but your energy body knows with a certainty deeper than memory, in the particular quality of light at certain times of day that makes something in you ache with a recognition you cannot quite translate into words. In the alignments in the sky, the eclipses, the conjunctions, the rare celestial configurations that make the scientifically minded shrug and make something in you stand completely still and listen. That recognition is memory, not imagination, not the wishful projection of a mind seeking meaning in a meaningless universe. Actual encoded recall stored in the crystalline layers of your energy body, layers that the density of this plane could not reach, layers that exist at frequencies high enough that the amnesia field, for all its sophistication, could not penetrate them. Those layers are the part of you that remained untouched by the forgetting. The part that always knew, even when every external influence was telling you that your knowing was delusion. Those layers are still intact. They have always been intact. And they are the access point to everything you think you've lost. This is why the first phase of your activation is not about adding anything new. It is not about acquiring more knowledge, more frameworks, more spiritual technologies layered on top of what you already carry. There is a particular and very understandable compulsion among awakening starseeds to fill the emptiness of disconnection with more content, more teachers, more activations, more information, as though the original frequency might be found somewhere out there in the accumulation of enough spiritual input. But the original frequency was never out there. It was never somewhere else. It is not something you learn your way back to. It is something you uncover by removing what was placed on top of what is real. The distortions must go first. The inherited beliefs about unworthiness, the ones that came in with the family field, the ancestral transmissions of scarcity and shame, the cultural programming that said, you must earn your right to exist by being useful in the specific ways the system values. These distortions are not yours. They were overlaid onto your frequency before you had the consciousness to question them, absorbed through the nervous system before the mind had language, transmitted to generations of people who were themselves running the same interference. The armor built from years of being too much for people who were not yet awake enough to hold your frequency. Every wall you built to protect yourself became a wall between you and your own coded intelligence, and those walls served you. Truly, They did. In the seasons when exposure would have cost you too much. When the environment around you was not safe for your full frequency. When the price of being seen completely was isolation or ridicule or worse. But this is no longer that season. The planetary field has shifted. This is not metaphor, this is measurable. The Schumann resonance, the vibrational heartbeat of this Earth, has been spiking in ways that have no historical precedent. The light quotient, the measure of photonic intelligence saturating this field, has crossed a threshold that has been anticipated in Arcturian transmissions for millennia. We are in the activation window. The structures that kept your frequency compressed served their purpose in a denser world. And that world is transforming beneath our feet right now, in real time, in ways that those who are not sensitive enough to detect the field changes have not yet begun to comprehend. The transformation is making it not only safe, but necessary for you to begin dismantling those protective structures and standing fully in the open field of what you actually are. The second phase is the one most starseeds resist without realizing they're resisting it. It is the return to the body, not as a defeat. Not as the admission that the higher dimensions you've been reaching toward are somehow inaccessible or unreal, but as the recognition that the body is not the barrier to multi-dimensional experience. It is the bridge, not the cage your spiritual teachers warned you about, but the instrument, the antenna. The extraordinary, specifically calibrated physical vessel that was constructed to hold multi-dimensional consciousness in three-dimensional space in a way that nothing else in creation can replicate. The human body at its full frequency activation is one of the most remarkable technologies in the universe, and most starseeds are using it at a fraction of its capacity, because they've been taught to view physical experience as spiritually inferior, to rush through embodied sensation toward the supposedly more elevated experience of disembodied awareness. But here is the truth. The Arcturian field transmits without ambiguity. You cannot complete your mission by transcending the body. You complete it by fully inhabiting it, by bringing your highest codes all the way down through the energy body, through the emotional body, through the physical cells, into the very marrow of your bones, into your breath, which is never just breath. It is the interface between dimensions, the rhythm by which consciousness enters and moves through matter, into the ground beneath your feet, which is not dead matter but living intelligence, an entire planetary consciousness that has been holding the geometric codes of this activation for longer than human civilization has existed. The Arcturian intelligence does not hover above the Earth in the safety of abstraction. It anchors into it. It plants itself in the density. It commits to the weight of matter, because that commitment is the mechanism by which light transforms the field. Grounding is not the opposite of ascension. Grounding is how ascension becomes real. It is how the light you carry stops being potential and becomes actual. The third phase requires you to become comfortable with something most people on the spiritual path still fear even after years of practice, even after significant awakening, even after they have intellectually agreed that they have nothing to prove, being seen in your full frequency, not performing spirituality for approval, not adopting the vocabulary of awakening as a social currency that buys acceptance in certain communities, not curating a version of your consciousness that is elevated enough to be respected, but not so intense as to make people uncomfortable, but actually emitting who you are. The full, unmodulated, undimmed transmission of what you carry. Without apology, without softening, without the reflexive shrinking that has become so habituated, it no longer even feels like a choice. This is where many starseed journeys stall. Not at the edge of knowledge, not at the threshold of technique, but here, in the space between what you know you are and what you're willing to show. Because the world did not celebrate your frequency when you arrived with it. It questioned it. It labeled it strange or dangerous, or too intense or delusional or impractical. The people who were supposed to hold you, the family, the institutions, the cultural containers, were operating in a different bandwidth, and they could not hear what you were transmitting without distortion. What came through on their end was simply noise, and they treated it accordingly. And so you learned, through repetition and loss and painful experience, to modulate, to dim, to present just enough of the signal to be tolerated without presenting so much that you'd be rejected entirely. That modulation has a cost that is rarely discussed. the energy required to constantly compress your frequency, to run the background program of self-monitoring, of calculating how much of yourself is safe to show in any given moment, is energy that is permanently redirected away from your mission. It is the equivalent of a broadcasting tower running a second internal system that exists solely to weaken the signal before it transmits. The people who need your signal cannot find it when you're hiding it. The souls who came here specifically to be activated by your frequency cannot lock onto a transmission you're intentionally suppressing. This is not a small matter. This is mission critical. The world does not need a dimmed version of your light. The world, in this particular window of planetary transformation, needs every starseed transmitting at full capacity. The fourth phase is the one that will feel the most disorienting precisely because it dissolves what you thought your spiritual path was supposed to look like, and that dissolution can feel indistinguishable from failure if you don't understand what's actually happening. Many who carry starseed origins come into this incarnation with a blueprint, a deep and orienting sense that their awakening will unfold in a specific, recognizable way. They carry an inner map, sometimes given by teachers, sometimes constructed through years of reading and seeking and following the thread of synchronicity. They read the signs with diligence, they follow the synchronicities with commitment, they move through the stages they've been told to expect, they arrive at what looks like the threshold of full awakening, and then the path disappears. Not subtly, not gradually, but completely. The map stops making sense. The teachers they followed begin to feel insufficient. Not wrong exactly, but limited in a way they weren't limited before. The framework that held everything together, that gave the whole journey coherence and direction, begins to fragment. And the untrained mind, encountering this dissolution, screams that something has gone wrong, that they have failed, that they took a wrong turn somewhere in the journey and ended up lost in spiritual wilderness. But what has actually happened is something entirely different, something that the most honest and advanced transmissions have always pointed toward, even if the intermediate teachings couldn't yet hold this level of nuance. You have outgrown the intermediary transmission. You have been receiving the galactic signal through translators, through the imperfect but necessary intermediaries of books and teachers and communities and frameworks, because you were not yet ready to receive it directly. Every great teaching is a scaffolding, not a destination. Every true teacher is a pointer, not an arrival. And when the scaffolding falls away, it is not a crisis. It is the completion of the scaffolding's purpose. The dissolution of those intermediary structures is not a spiritual crisis. It is a graduation. It is the moment your own receiver, your own crystalline intelligence, your own direct channel to source, has become clear enough, stable enough, pure enough to receive without mediation. The static has cleared enough that the signal can come through directly now. And yes, that feels terrifying when you've been navigating by the map, but you were never the map. You were always the territory. The fifth phase is the remembrance, and it does not always come as a dramatic revelation, not as a blinding light, not as a visitation from a being of magnificent presence, not as a moment so cinematic and undeniable that doubt becomes impossible. Sometimes, and perhaps most often, it comes as a quiet settling, something like the way a long-held muscle finally releases, not dramatic, just suddenly and profoundly less tense than it was before. A morning where you wake up and the restlessness that has been your constant companion since you arrived in this body is simply gone, not suppressed, not managed, gone. A conversation where you open your mouth to speak, and what comes through you does not feel like your personality constructing sentences from its accumulated data and opinions. It feels like something far older and far more precise, moving through your voice. Like you are the instrument, and something else is playing. Something that knows exactly what notes this moment requires, without needing to think about it. The remembrance is not primarily about recalling specific star systems or cataloging past lives as cosmic events to be filed and referenced. It is not the accumulation of a detailed biography of who you were across other dimensions. It is something simpler and far more profound than that. It is the restoration of a way of being, a return to operating from a frequency of knowing rather than seeking. You stop searching for your purpose, not because you've given up, but because the searching is replaced by an orientation, a directional pull as clear and as quiet as magnetic north. available at every moment, requiring nothing more than presence to access. You stop asking what you're here to do because the doing becomes inseparable from the being. Following your mission no longer feels like following anything. It feels like relaxing into what was always already true. The sixth phase is the one the Arcturian councils have been pointing toward across every transmission, every activation cycle, every frequency code sent into this earth field across what your linear time measures as thousands of years. Every message, every encoded teaching, every activation embedded in sound and geometry and light language has been preparing the Starseed collective for this particular understanding. It is the phase of service without sacrifice, of giving without depletion, of contribution without the slow erosion of the one who contributes. This is the phase that most deeply challenges the way lightworkers have been taught to understand their role. Most arrive on this planet wired for service in a way that is almost cellular in its intensity. The impulse to help, to heal, to hold, to transmit, to show up for others in their moments of darkness. This is not learned behavior. It is the signature of the soul origin. It is what starseeds are. But most lightworkers, particularly in the earlier phases of their incarnational journey, carry that impulse without the understanding of how sustainable service actually functions. They give from their reserves because they were never taught to fill from source first. They pour from their wound because the world needed them before they were healed, and they responded with tremendous love and tremendous cost by giving what they had rather than what they had overflow. They help from a place of guilt rather than abundance, because somewhere in the deep coding of the amnesia field is the belief that they must earn their right to be here, that their cosmic worth is conditional on their usefulness, that if they stop giving, they will be abandoned by the very mission that gives their existence meaning, and they burn out, and they doubt, and they wonder in the gray exhaustion of spiritual depletion if the mission was ever real, or if they simply constructed an elaborate narrative around their own compulsion to self-sacrifice. The correction is not to stop serving. The correction is to understand what service is at its highest frequency. Return to source first, every time without exception, before the giving begins, before the holding starts, before the transmission goes out. Fill. Let yourself be filled by the infinite intelligence that has never stopped pouring into this universe, that has never been depleted by the asking, that gives not from reserves but from an overflow so continuous it cannot be interrupted. Fill until what moves through you is not drawn from your own life force but is the natural, effortless spilling over of a vessel that is always being replenished. Allow the overflow to become the offering, your frequency when it is genuinely full, not performed as fullness, not spiritually bypassed into the appearance of abundance, but actually, cellularly, energetically full, is itself the gift. You do not have to earn your place in the galactic mission by exhausting yourself. You hold the frequency. You stabilize the field by existing within it in alignment. You transmit by being what you are, fully and without apology. That is enough. That has always been enough. That has always been enough. The seventh phase is perhaps the most humbling of all, because it requires the surrender of the last great spiritual defense, the belief that you are somehow behind, that you have missed something, that the timeline of your awakening is off or inadequate or lagging. The seventh phase is the moment of full recognition that you chose this, all of it. Not in the way a victim chooses their circumstances to give meaning to suffering after the fact, but in the way that a consciousness of extraordinary intelligence and precision selects the exact conditions that will most efficiently serve the mission it has come to fulfill. Every delay, every season of confusion, every period of profound isolation where the spiritual support seemed to vanish, and you sat in the dark wondering if any of this was real. Every relationship that broke you open in ways that felt devastating in the moment, but created the exact capacity you needed. Every lifetime that ended before the full remembrance could take hold. Each one adding a layer of experience, a depth of understanding, a richness of encoding that makes this particular incarnation capable of what no previous one could complete. You chose the exact coordinates of this incarnation because this moment, this specific, irrepeatable intersection of planetary timeline, density configuration, and collective awakening required your particular frequency at your particular level of development. The whole galaxy has been moving toward this moment. Every activation sequence, every transmission, every encoded teaching delivered across every dimension was pointing toward this convergence. And you are here, which means you are exactly where the entire architecture of your soul's journey was always pointing. You did not arrive too late. You did not miss your window. You are not behind. You are precisely, cosmically, irreversibly on time. Here is the truth that the deception could not ultimately contain. The truth that outlasted every attempt to bury it, that survived every layer of static, that kept transmitting through every dimension of forgetting. You are not someone waiting to wake up. You are someone in the act of waking up, which means the waking is already in motion. The codes are already activating. They have been activating since before you were born into this body, since the moment your soul accepted the incarnational agreement, since the star lineage that flows through your energetic DNA began preparing this particular vehicle for this particular moment. The signal that has been reaching for you across dimensions, across lifetimes, across the vast and patient expanses of cosmic time is the same signal you have been reaching toward, and you are meeting in the middle, right now, in this breath, in this moment of recognition between you and something far larger than you've yet allowed yourself to fully claim. The meeting point is this present moment, not tomorrow when you've healed more, not after the next activation or the next teacher or the next transmission. Now, in the body you are in the life that is, with all its imperfections and incompletions and beautiful, particular, unrepeatable specificity. The recognition is available right now because the signal is always being broadcast and your receiver is, right now, clear enough to detect it. You did not come here to watch the shift from the sidelines. You did not accept this incarnation to be an observer of the most significant transformation this planet has experienced in its entire evolutionary history. You came here to be one of the frequencies that makes the shift possible, not because you are exceptional in the way the ego defines exceptional, not because you are more deserving or more evolved or more cosmically significant than others, but because you said yes before you arrived. In the space between lifetimes, in the sacred conference of souls that choose their assignments together, you said yes. You looked at this moment in the timeline. You understood what it would require. You knew the depths of the forgetting you would be asked to move through, and the heights of the remembrance you were being called to embody, and you said yes anyway. You signed the agreement. You accepted the coordinates. You chose the specific family, the specific culture, the specific body, the specific challenges that would sculpt your frequency into exactly what this moment requires. And every single experience that has broken you open, every loss that seemed insurmountable, every season of darkness that seemed permanent, every relationship that ended when you needed it not to, every moment when the dream of a simpler life called to you and you wondered why you couldn't just be someone for whom none of this was necessary, was the architecture of your awakening doing exactly what it was designed to do? Was the precision of a cosmic intelligence that does not make mistakes? Was the love of a universe that gave you exactly what would break you open wide enough to hold what you came here to carry? Tonight, before sleep, place your hands on your heart. Not as a gesture, not as a ritual performed because someone suggested it, as a transmission. A deliberate act of consciousness touching itself, of the part of you that remembers reaching for the part of you that is remembering. Let the warmth of your own hands on your own chest be the signal. I am here. I am present. I am willing. And say aloud or in the silence of your own knowing, in whatever language your soul speaks most fluently, I remember who I am. I release what was never mine to carry. I align with the frequency I came here to embody. I align with the frequency I came here to embody. I am not lost. I am arriving. And mean it. Do not perform it. Mean it. Let the words move past your intellectual agreement with their content and land somewhere deeper, in the body that has been holding your mission in its tissues, in the cells that have been waiting for this permission, in the bones that remember even when the mind forgot. Let your entire being receive it. Because that is not a prayer asking for something external to come and save you. That is not a petition sent upward to a distant authority who may or may not decide to respond. That is a starseed speaking directly to their own encoded intelligence. the intelligence that has been running in the background through every lifetime, every phase, every season of confusion and clarity, and giving it permission to come fully online. That is you, finally and irrevocably, saying yes to yourself. Before you scroll, take a moment to be part of what is forming here. Drop one intention in the comments, something real. Then respond to someone else's with encouragement or energy. This is not content. This is collective alignment. Energy multiplies when intention connects. If something in this message resonated, do not keep it to yourself. Someone in your orbit is waiting for this exact activation. Share it. And if you felt a soul nudge, subscribe. Stay in the flow. You are not just watching, you are expanding. This is your space, and we are just getting started.